I hope you don't mind my standing. I've chosen to title my presentation Social Entrepreneurship, Perspectives from the Philippines. I've focused on the Philippines, although the research we have done have also covered other Asian countries. My presentation will be in 6 parts. I'll share with you the results of the research on the meaning of social entrepreneurship, social enterprise, and social entrepreneur, forces and trends shaping social entrepreneurship, the models and selected cases in the Philippines, challenges faced by social enterprise sector, and ASEA, the organization that I represent now, as a response to these challenges, and some concluding remarks. Let me begin by discussing the meaning of social entrepreneurship. This is, yes, social innovation, but we have focused on social entrepreneurship as social innovation in the market as an arena. So this is actually a paradigm shift, from looking at the market as an exploiter of people and as a polluter of the environment. We're now wanting a paradigm shift of the market as an arena for transformation. So it's concerned with creating and transforming markets into arenas for pursuing sustainable development, creating innovative ways of providing greater access to social and economic services to the poor, enabling the poor and marginalized sectors to benefit more from the market as partners, not only as partners but owners, and also managers of social enterprises, as well as is concerned with creating new benchmarks for wealth creation, creating wealth in a way that contributes to social equity and environmental sustainability. In terms of the meaning of social enterprise, let me just add to what has already been discussed in relation to the definition. In our study of social enterprises in different countries in Asia, we have noted that social enterprises are different from private or traditional business enterprises in 3 ways: in terms of their primary stakeholders and beneficiaries, in terms of their primary objectives, and in terms of their enterprise philosophy. Social enterprises have as primary stakeholders a sector, a community, or group, usually involving marginalized sectors of society or the poor, who may or may not own or control the enterprise. And while in the private enterprise, the primary stakeholders are the rich stockholders or proprietors. Hello? Yeah? So the private enterprise has as primary stakeholders rich stockholders or proprietors, or rich individuals or families who own capital and invest such in the enterprise in the hope of getting rich or richer. And then in terms of primary objectives, the social enterprise usually has a double bottom line, but some have already done a triple bottom line, and most of the social enterprises we studied have a social and financial bottom line, but a third bottom line, which is either environmental and or cultural or both, is also observable. The bottom line, of course, of a private enterprise is always profit. In terms of enterprise philosophy, the social enterprise has a distributive as opposed to an accumulative philosophy of a private enterprise. By distributive, we mean that economic benefits are distributed to a broader segment of society and they generate positive social and environmental benefits. While a private enterprise, they're accumulative in the sense that they minimize costs, they maximize profits to enrich individuals, and social and environmental costs of doing business are always external to their system. In terms of the meaning of social entrepreneur, we found that social entrepreneurs in Asia are development change agents working in the market as an arena. They're innovative, opportunity-seeking, and resourceful. But what we found out is that they're usually not just individuals. Many times they are teams, they are groups, sometimes even institutions. And they lead the creation of enterprises enterprise systems or enterprise development programs that demonstrate positive development impact. Let's now go to the forces and trends shaping social entrepreneurship in the Philippines. The first is worsening poverty, inequity, and environmental degradation amidst economic growth. Despite the fact that our government is saying that we're going to be a first world status country in a few years, there's increasing poverty. At the same time, our Gini coefficient, which is a measure of inequality, is the third highest in Asia. We're next only to Nepal and China. And then we're also considered a biodiversity hotspot. The second force or trend is the failure of government to resolve the crisis of poverty and environmental degradation, despite the fact that our government has the best environmental laws and is touting poverty alleviation programs. Poverty is getting worse, environmental degradation is getting worse, and there's pervasive corruption. So there's no trust in the government as far as doing positive things with the people are concerned. Another force or trend that's shaping social entrepreneurship is in the Philippines and in many other underdeveloped economies in Asia. Corporate social responsibility has been pegged to corporate philanthropy, meaning to say it's just giving or PR. Unlike Europe, for example, where corporate social responsibility is equivalent to corporate citizenship, meaning to say you have to incorporate social and environmental concerns into your company philosophy and practice. In the Philippines and in many underdeveloped economies of Asia, CSR is just giving, philanthropy. So these are the forces and trends that have shaped social entrepreneurship. And so that we are not very theoretical, let's look at some selected cases in the Philippines. And I'll also use these cases to show the models that we have noted as we did research in various countries. There are 4 models that we have noted on social enterprises. I'm sorry, I almost forgot. Another trend within civil society is the concern for sustainability, where there's a drying up of grants as ODA and non-government development agencies are moving out because we're no longer a least developed country. There are natural and human disasters elsewhere, so that there's no money coming into the Philippines for NGOs. There's a search among NGOs and civil society organizations for self-reliance and sustainability strategies for development programs, projects, and services. And also, there's a bigger importance being given now to economic aspect of work in our communities and among marginalized sectors, because before, we used to do a lot of organizing, provision of health and other services. But there's a realization that unless farmers, for example, are empowered to own their enterprises or empowered to deal with the market, then all these are not going to be sustainable. So anyway, those are the forces and trends shaping social entrepreneurship. Let me now go back to what I was describing to be the selected cases that I would show which I would use to show some models of social enterprises in the Philippines. I'm going to use 4 cases: Kuleni, Sikat, Alter Trade Group, and PETA, each showing a specific model of social enterprise. Kuleni is a joint venture between PRM, a non-government organization, and Kalikasan, who are a group of farmers practicing sustainable agriculture. They engage in the production, processing, and marketing of organic rice and products. And the farmer partners are now 308. We have 6 full-time staff. There's farmers' equity is 10%, 90% is owned by PRM, the NGO. Because it used to be that PRM, the NGO, used to want farmers to own and control the enterprise at the onset. But there's been many failure stories in that respect, so that it's learned to actually adjust its strategies. So even if over time it will be the farmers owning the enterprise, we'll have to do it in a devolutionary manner. So Kuleni, one of the major challenges of Kuleni is scaling up and financing. I'm using Kuleni as an example of an empowerment model of a social enterprise. Empowerment models address the need for the poor or marginalized to reap maximum benefits from owning and controlling the social enterprise themselves, directly at the onset or over time, which is devolutionary. And at their best, the social enterprises become catalysts for broader changes in society. So that in the case of Plenary, for example, the Philippine Rural Reconstruction Movement, even after it withdrew from the community where it was organizing the farmers, Plenary became a sustaining mechanism for empowerment of the farmers. Another example is SICAT, which is a school of indigenous knowledge and traditions. It's a project of the Asian Council for People's Culture, and from 1999 to the present, they successfully built a network of 31 tribal schools in remote upland areas nationwide. They're different from public schools in the sense that their curriculum is culture-based, it's community-managed, and it's actually established in partnership with local government. The Education Ministry is now starting to establish SICAT schools. No? And there's a problem there because the SICAT schools they're setting up have a problem with quality. They're not doing it in coordination with SICAT, or the Asian Council for People's Culture. So that the major challenge that SICAT faces is quality assurance and sustainability, and they're looking at how social franchising can actually help them in this respect. SICAT is an example of a social inclusion model. They primarily address the need for sectors marginalized or stigmatized by virtue of their physical, psychological, social, or economic conditions to either gain access to basic services or gain their dignified place as productive members of society. And we found in our research that in many developed market economies, the social inclusion model is the most dominant expression of social inclusion. But in the Philippines, it is one of the four models. A third model is a third example is Outer Trade Group. I think Kim already talked about fair trade this morning. It's the biggest fair trade organization in the Philippines. They set up a corporation in 1987, but by 1997, 10 years later, they actually set up a foundation and another manufacturing company. Their products are organic muscovado, sugar, as well as naturally grown balangon bananas, which is actually a local, which is a native variety of bananas. And the Outer Trade Corporation deals with or has as partners 4,000 growers and farmers in agrarian reform communities, or communities that have been given land by a land reform program of government, but have not been made productive before the Outer Trade Corporation intervention. But Outer Trade Group now has sales of over 4 million. Their markets involve Japan, Europe. I heard that they're actually marketing in South Korea, Malaysia, and the domestic market. Their assets have reached 2 million. They have 500 employees. And earlier this year, we did a study about their social return on investment, and we found that for every peso invested over a 5-year period from 2002 to 2007, for sugar farmers, Outer Trade was able to create a value equivalent to 15 pesos for every peso invested. And for every peso invested among balangon growers, they were creating 25 pesos. And the major challenge of Outer Trade Group is scaling up also, and strategic management capacities. Now you see, Outer Trade Group was set up by activists, and they never realized that they would actually grow this big. And now they have to face the challenge of strategic social enterprise management. But Outer Trade Group is an example of an intermediation model. They provide primary stakeholders, who are usually segments of the economically active poor, with access to critical economic services, which could include financial, product development, trading and marketing, and technological services, to enable them to become more effective market players. And so while the social inclusion model deals with usually the non-economically active poor, or poor people who are totally marginalized, the intermediation model deals with the segment of the poor who are economically active in their own subsectors. So the last example I will give is the Philippine Educational Theater Association. It's an organization of artists recognized for using theater as a vehicle for empowerment and social transformation. They were totally dependent on grants in the 70s, but in the 80s, one of their partner agencies, ECO, a Dutch agency, advised PETA that they needed to identify income-generating programs, and over a period of time, they developed market engagements. They charged standard fees for performances, and and other products and services. And today, 50% of their annual revenues comes from earned income, which is expected to increase further because they have set up now a theater center. They're actually using not only for their performances, but they're also renting it out. That's their total assets and staffing. But the major challenge that they're facing is ensuring sustainability given the social and cultural bottom line. How do you manage the triple bottom line? And also, how do you measure non-financial outcomes? Okay. So the fourth model that we found to be existing as a social enterprise is resource mobilization models, or what we call resource mobilization models because their primary objective is to generate income from the sale of products or services to finance or sustain the development agency's programs for the poor or marginalized. So these were the four models that we noted existed in terms of social enterprises in the Philippines and other Asian countries. And we noted in the research also three major challenges. The challenge of sustainability, the challenge of scaling up impact, and the challenge of shifting paradigms. The challenge of sustainability has many aspects. It has an ecological dimension. As I've said, not all social enterprises have incorporated environment as a third bottom line, and we believe that it's an important third bottom line. A financial dimension where there's a need for access to more appropriate financial resources and creative financing strategies, but we've also found out that for empowerment and social inclusion strategies, the concern for making profit is less than if you talk about resource mobilization or even intermediation strategies. No, but there's differences, and there are more effective strategies for financing for some models and not for others. There's also an organizational dimension, which is actually looking at the mastering the art of managing multiple bottom lines and measuring non-financial outcomes. So a second challenge is the challenge of scaling up. And here there's a need for dedicated education and capacity building programs. I'll just give some examples. Management of change and complexity given the multiple bottom lines, strategic social enterprise management, subsector or industry development. And then also, the challenge of scaling up is directly related to developing appropriate financing mechanisms and partnerships to support the growth and replication of successful models. And here, we're looking at innovative financing schemes and strategies that will have an impact on the long term, including social franchising, social venture funds, and we're starting to talk about the need to set up a social stock exchange, especially in this financial crisis, where I think the confidence of the capitalist market is at its lowest. It's important that social entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurial resource institutions talk about grantor schemes for financing. And I think social stock exchange, the concept, is worth exploring. In terms of the challenge of shifting paradigms, this has to do with the fact that the sector is growing, but it remains fragmented. And there's a big segment of civil society who want to shift paradigms, but still lack the appreciation, the confidence, and the competence to deal with the market as an arena for change. The sector needs to open up to innovative partnerships with appropriate segments of the business sector. And there's also a need for the sector to build alliances, to gain wider recognition, and to institute policy and political changes to support the growth and development of social entrepreneurship. Unlike in Korea, where you already have a policy in government on social enterprise that's lacking in the Philippines and many underdeveloped economies, and we're wanting to learn from your experience here, its strengths and weaknesses, and also for our own advocacy at home. And the Institute for Social Entrepreneurship in Asia is actually an institution that was set up just recently in June as a response to these challenges. So it's a response to the need for a resource institution dedicated to research, education, networking, and partnership building towards assisting current and aspiring social entrepreneurs and social enterprises face the challenges of sustainability, of scaling up impact, of shifting paradigms, not only in the Philippines but in other countries in Asia. As Mr. Anjay was talking about, ISEA is not just in the Philippines, but it's also present in 8 other countries. So ISEA is committed to harnessing the intellectual, human, social, and financial capital in Asian societies, in building a learning community and a nurturing environment for advancement of social entrepreneurship in the region. And just to give you an idea about what we're doing research and training on measuring social enterprise outcomes. We introduced development indexing as a methodology and social return on investment as tools. We're doing research and learning materials development on social entrepreneurship towards sustainable development, so that we're actually talking about a triple bottom line and promoting both social equity and environmental sustainability. We're doing courses on social entrepreneurship in the market, strategic social enterprise management, and social entrepreneurship and subsector development or industry development or value chain development. And we're starting a forum series. And on September 2009, we're doing one on financing mechanisms for social enterprises in Thailand, to be hosted by the Population and Community Development Association in Thailand. But all told, ISEA envisions a critical mass of social and development entrepreneurs and enterprises, making a difference for the poor and marginalized sectors in the markets of Asia, and creating innovative pathways towards equitable and sustainable development. And we're hoping that we could develop synergies with the organizers and participants of ASES towards that vision. Thank you very much.